Hello, Power Up Nation. Pat Council here to talk about how to use disappointment to succeed. Yes, you can actually use disappointment to succeed. Remember, our tagline is do life with power because you're built by design to win, and you are built by design to win. So everything that comes at you, comes against you, you can get beyond it. You just have to understand what's going on. So with that being said, I am going to share several insights with you that will kind of give you, well, more insight into disappointment and how you can use it to make sure that you achieve your 2025 goals. In 2025, this is definitely the year to thrive. And I know there's a lot of craziness that's going on, but sometimes you have to turn a blind eye and, a deaf ear to all of the hype and all of the misinformation and sometimes all of the correct information that's going on that is counterproductive to your success and counterproductive to you building and living your magnificent life. Believe me, a lot of things will come against you. That includes people that are close to you, people that you know, people that perhaps you thought, oh man, I trusted that person, or people that you just don't even know you and you don't know them. And all of a sudden you go, wow, this person, what happened? So it's several different things that can come against you. But you have to understand, and these things can leave you feeling disappointed, but you have to understand what's going on with all of that. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you is when it comes to disappointment, it is important that you come from a position of compassion and, most importantly, self-compassion. Usually in February, I talk about love. I talk about different aspects of love, and how you can use it to achieve your goals, to build that magnificent life. And self-compassion is no different. Self-compassion is like the first cousin to love, because compassion is an extremely important thing. I've seen people, not a lot, one or two that come to mind, without compassion. And I'm not judging them, but I've seen it. And let's just say in my head, I think, wow, if that person had a little more compassion, their lives would be very different. Things would work out a lot better for them. So I'm sharing this so that you can understand how important it is for you not to beat yourself up when you do encounter a disappointment. Now, I can talk about this because as long as I've been living, I've had a great life. I have a great life and truly blessed. But that does not mean that on this journey through life, I've not had disappointments. I've had disappointments as far back as I can remember. But I've also had some amazing things happen in my life as far back as I can remember. So I'm sharing this with you guys because I want you to understand that in spite of disappointment, you can succeed. But you have to understand what disappointment means, and I'm going to share some insights in just a moment. But before we get to that, actually, you know what? Why don't I just give you the first insight, and and then I'll share what I was going to share. And the first insight is that sometimes disappointment happens because we don't know enough, because there's something that we don't know. So when disappointment happens, sometimes people criticize themselves. They beat themselves up. They call themselves, oh, I'm so stupid, or I shouldn't have done that. Or, they really go down this whole self-deprecating road. And I want to encourage you not to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a difference between noting the lesson and saying, you know what? Yeah, this happened because I did X, Y, Z, and I'm disappointed in the outcome. But what can I learn from this? So that would be the first insight I would give you. If you're not making enough money, if you're not thriving in your goals, business or personal, there are some things that perhaps you still need to learn. Now, one of the things I decided to do for February, since February is my favorite month, and for those of you who are listening for the first time. February is my favorite month because, well, number one, my birthday's in February. And number two, I love Valentine's Day. I just love the idea of love. Okay. So, and of course, Valentine's Day is more about, intimate relationships, but the concept of love. So for the purposes of Designing Your Life Today, the podcast, the purposes of me, my life, to me, February, the entire month of February is about love, period, from all different aspects, not just eros, love. So, back on topic, because this is my favorite month, and my birth month, I decided to do a birthday bash sale. So all of I have several courses, 5 or 6 courses that normally cost $200 or more, $199 or more. And so all of those have been marked way, way down. I think the least expensive course is $22.99. And then the most expensive one is $39.99. And then there are ranges in between there. So the reason why I did that is because I get to hear people talk about why they don't know something or that they would love to learn something. And sometimes people say, well, if I had more money. So I said, you know what? Even though, yeah, it's my birthday. I love to get presents. I love to do, for people to celebrate my day. But you know what? Let me celebrate others by making things more affordable. Now, this is a birthday bash sale. So as it ends March 1st. So with that being said, there are things that we don't know. And if we know that we don't know something, it's our responsibility to go and learn what it is we don't know. And you say, well, how do I know what I need to learn? Well, look at the situation, the disappointed situation. If you had a relationship that failed, that tells you need to learn some things about yourself. It tells you need to learn some things also about relationships and connecting with other people. So there are things that you must learn. If you're having money challenges, that tells you, and especially if you're working a job, okay, or if you're worried about losing your job because of the fallout from a lot of things that are going on here in the good old US of A, then that tells you that perhaps you need to look at starting your own business, or you need to learn something, learn how to build your own income when it comes to starting a business. So there are a lot of things that you may need to learn, or things that you want to look at. So that's how you assess things. If you say, well, I've set these goals and I'm not achieving them, I've already fizzled out, I'm already bored, or I'm not focused, my motivation has gone down, then you know what? That means that you need to learn how to stay on track when it comes to achieving your goals. You need to figure out what's going on with that. And are you afraid? And there's several other things that can come into play. So the point that I'm getting to here is that's why I put these courses on sale, and I handpicked these courses based on many of the challenges that people are having. And this is as a result of a survey. And so I said, you know what? I have answers to some of these. And if I don't know the answer, I have people who I'll bring on my master classes that will definitely give the answers. So with that being said, you can go to designingyourlifeachieversacademy.com and you can look at the courses that are on sale. They're right there on the front page, because there's several. Also, I'll put a link in the show notes and you can check them out. If you want to learn how to manifest more, we have a manifestation mastery masterclass. So these classes are their courses plus the live class, which means that, I'm going to be teaching them, and you'll get to come on and you can ask your questions, or you can share things, and you guys, we can all just win together. That's what it's about. So let's get back to the next point. Okay, so the first point was that you may not know enough, or there may be some things that you need to learn. The second point is that you are going in a direction that's not a part of your destiny. So sometimes we have a calling, we know what that calling is, but we want to do everything else but that. We want to listen to everyone else who's saying, you know what, I'm over here doing this. You should do it too. And we go, oh, I think I'll make money. Look at, they're driving a nice car. They're making lots of money doing that. Now, you know that's not your calling. You know that that's not the direction you're supposed to go in, but you go because you see dollar signs in your eyes. Now, no criticism, no judgment, just pointing out that you want to ask yourself, why am I doing this? So that second point is you're going in a direction that's not a part of your divine destiny. Okay. And you know that because there's something in you that's telling you that. Let me give you one example and then we'll go on to the next point. When I was in multi-level marketing, well, Mary Kay, and it's a great company. And I was in Mary Kay and I built a pretty good sized team. And so people were winning and I was winning. And so we were doing really great, but deep down inside, in my heart of hearts, I was not that excited about being in Mary Kay. Now, I did go to the level of senior sales director in Mary Kay. And the thing about that is I went to that level because it's kind of my nature to win. Okay. Or I made it my nature, Well, let me rephrase that. We're built by design to win. And I let that nature come out. There it is. So I let that nature come forward. And I go into something. When I get in it, I'm in it to win it. So I worked at it and making it happen. And it did happen, but it didn't happen on the level I wanted it to happen. Okay. I wanted to go all the way to the top, but deep down inside, I wasn't that excited about going all the way to the top or doing all the work it took to get to the top. Now, I'm a worker. I don't mind doing the work, but deep down inside, I was like, okay, I don't know if this is for me. And I'm not going to go into all the details why. I could, but as I said, Mary Kay is a good company and I certainly don't want to influence anyone else's thinking. So what happened is I knew what direction I was supposed to be going in. Okay. I knew what my gifts and talents were. And I knew, at that point in time, how on a certain level, how I was supposed to begin using those talents so I could actually, let's say, blossom, into my calling. Okay. So I knew that, but I went in a different direction. So needless to say, I was very disappointed. Disappointment came when I left Mary Kay and I had done all the work and there was, I had to leave my team. And I made that decision because Mary Kay wasn't for me. I knew it wasn't for me. But I'm a person, I don't believe in bringing someone into something. There are a lot of multi-level marketing people that do this. They know they're not going to stay, but they bring a person in, they bring a group in, and then when the money stops, then they switch to another multi-level marketing company. Not judging them. I'm saying that's not my thing. When I bring someone in to something, it's because I truly believed in it. Now, at that time, I fully believed in it. But once I stayed in it, I started thinking, you know what, this isn't your calling. There were certain do's and don'ts. Okay. I know what I love to share to help people win. But there were certain do's and don'ts. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sit well with me. And I'll just leave it at that. There were no conflicts. I just made a decision, that, hey, it's time to do something different. So that's a disappointment, going in the wrong direction. So if things aren't working out in your favor, you may want to take a look and say, you know what, is this part of my destiny? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Here's another one. You're trying to make it work through force. Back to Mary Kay. I was trying to make it work through force. And what I mean, by force, I wasn't forcing people. I was forcing myself to stay in this thing and trying to convince myself that you need to go to the top. You need to go to the top, and putting, that kind of pressure on myself. So the thing is, I was trying to force that. What things are you trying to force in your life? I've tried to force not just that, relationships and things, trying to, jump through hoops to make something work before. And this is when, I didn't know any better. And so at some point I realized, wait a minute, you know what? You don't have to force. Don't get me wrong. You have to work to make something happen. Okay. That's how you kind of get the prize. You have to work to get the prize. But there's a difference between working to get the prize and forcing to get the prize. Okay. When you start forcing, that means you're trying to control and manipulate that situation. Okay. And here's the funny thing about that. Sometimes you're trying to control or manipulate the situation, even though you might be jumping through hoops and thinking, but wait, I'm the one that's doing all the work. I'm, doing the best I can. Wait, why are you jumping through those hoops? In the hopes of manipulating that person into going into the direction that you want them to go into, or in the hopes of manipulating that business into going in the direction that you would love it to go into. So you want to look at that. So disappointments, when you start to take a look, okay, here's the thing about disappointment and what it means. Disappointment means to undo the appointment. So if I appointed myself into Mary Kay, that was not my divine appointment. Okay. Or if I appointed myself into this relationship or a relationship, then perhaps that was not the relationship for me. Again, not a divine appointment. That's not the relationship you need to be in to fulfill your purpose or fulfill your calling. Now, I've got to throw my caveat in at this point. Just because I'm talking about relationships, what I'm doing is talking about the personal side and the business side of life. I'm giving both sides. But just because I'm saying that that might not be the relationship, that's not an excuse to get a divorce. It's not an excuse to say, to step away from your spouse and say, you know what, you're not the divine appointment for me. Listen, I don't get into that. I will say, when love is at the center of all of it, love and compassion, if it's at the center of all of it, that's how you know you're not manipulating anything. That's how you know you're not trying to control or force your destiny, a destiny that's really not yours. That's how you know that. But when you come from a position of pure love, and that takes work, you guys, that's a spiritual thing. Okay. It takes work. But it all starts with making a decision, and we don't have time to go into that. We may talk about that on another podcast. But when you come from that position, then you know you're not forcing, that you are in fact on the road to fulfilling your divine calling or your divine appointment. With the divine appointment comes no disappointment. All right. So we talked about the fact that you might need to learn something new. You might not know enough in certain areas. We talked about the fact that you may be going in a direction that's not a part of your destiny. And we just finished talking about the fact that you may be trying to make something work through force. And here's another one. Now, and this one is different, a little bit counter to the other three, but slightly, well, it's counter. Okay, so you're actually in your divine appointment. You're actually on purpose, working on fulfilling your purpose, and you're doing the work. But there's one disappointment after the other. Well, here's the thing about that. You say, well, how do I succeed in that? Well, first of all, you have to acknowledge I'm doing the work, but you need to pay attention to the kind of work that you're doing. Are you doing the right kind of work? Are you doing the work that's actually going to get you the results? A lot of times when I'm coaching people, one of the things or actually a few things that we end up talking about is, what are you focused on? And let's talk about some real accountability. And there are a few other things that we cover. And then they go, wow, this whole time, I love what I do. And this whole time I have had my attention on the wrong thing. I have been doing the kind of work that is attached to this business, but it's not taking me where I want to go. And as I said, and on the personal side of the house, I don't coach married couples. That's not my thing. But I'm talking in general. Okay. And on the personal side of the house, if the same thing, if you are, hanging out with, you have the right spouse, or if you have the right group of friends and all of that, and nothing still seems to be growing. And this is the part that stings a bit. I've been through it, been there, done that. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm doing my part, but what position am I coming from? Again, are you coming from a position of love? Are you coming from a position of compassion and that kind of thing? But back to you're doing the work, but not the right work. So you could be going in the right direction and just not doing enough or not doing the right work. Now, here's another caveat. Just because you're doing all of that, that does not mean that disappointments won't happen. It doesn't mean that things won't come against you. It doesn't mean people won't come against you. But here's how that works. The disappointments will come, but you will get through them a lot easier. You will diagnose them, analyze them, and prescribe the proverbial medicine, and you will get to where it is you need to be. So this is kind of how it works. So as I start to wrap up, you guys, I just want to remind you that you want to start to look at things from that position, from a position of compassion. When you look from a position of compassion and have compassion for yourself, then you come up with better answers. That's what helps you thrive. Those lower energies where you're beating yourself up, the self-pity, all the sadness, that's not going to help you thrive. I'm not telling you to ignore your feelings, but what I am saying to you is come at your feelings from a position of compassion. Acknowledge what you're feeling and acknowledge the truth. When we move our ego out of the way and allow ourselves to actually make mistakes, then guess what? First of all, we don't have as many disappointments. But secondly, we learn a lot faster and we get through the disappointment, and then you'll succeed. This is your year to thrive. You just have to embrace it. And you have to look at the things that are not common to success. Disappointment would not be something that we would think would be common to success. But disappointment is actually almost a necessary thing to help you go to the next level and get to the success that you truly desire. Listen, I want you guys to have an amazing day. Don't forget to check out Designing Your Life, achieversacademy.com. That's Designing Your Life, achieversacademy.com. Don't forget to take a look at that, look at the courses, and see if there's something that you need to know and you want to hang out with all of us. These are going to be some live master classes wherever they're designated. You guys will see. Let's just talk. Let's just get to where it is we all need to be. As I said, 2025 is the year to thrive. Hey, have an amazing day. And do life with power, because you're built by design to win.